You already know what time it is. 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. Back again with my boy Casey. GiantsNinersDubsSharks. Let's get it. How you feeling, man?
I'm stoked, man. It's that time of year. I don't know how many years in a row we've done this at this point, but
A
it's
lot.
tradition. Yeah, we're back. We've seen a lot of Stanley Cup winners come and go, crowning another one this year. So I'm excited, man.
Super exciting. The reigning champions, of course, the Florida Panthers. Do you see them repeating it all? We'll just get that out of the way. Do you see the Florida Panthers going back to back this year?
I don't. I thought they were going to like earlier in the year. I was like, this team is good. They're gritty. They have all the skill. I don't think so. I don't have them going. I think the East got better from last year to this year. You didn't see teams like Washington, come out and some teams got worse, like the New York Rangers and Islanders and whatnot. But I think like a lot of other teams can rival them. And I don't know. How about you?
No, I don't see it. I mean, they got a tough path, man. They got to play us. By us, I mean the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. For the second straight year, and it's gonna be a lot tougher this time around, I think. And if they get past the Lightning, then they're gonna have to play either uh, the the Hurricanes or the Maple Leafs. It's just like everybody's got a tough path this year, and so the Florida Panthers, it's such an uphill climb if they want to go back to back, and they've got a lot of guys who are coming off of injury. They utilize the long time injury reserve, as you know, a lot of people like to blame Tampa for that and don't realize it was actually the Blackhawks that started it, not Tampa. Tampa just exposed it, even though they were one of the few teams that voted against it when the Blackhawks did it. So they just, whatever. But the Panthers did it. It's fair game. Anybody can do it. Credit to the Panthers for for doing it. But are these players going to be 100%? Because Matthew Kachuk came back. Well, he played Four Nations, got hurt, and he's been out pretty much since then. And he's going to come back game one along with a couple other guys. Can't remember who off the top of my head. Maybe Sam Bennett was one of them. A couple of the really good players are going to get back. So it's definitely going to be a tougher Florida team start the playoffs than they have been in the last stretch of the regular season. But no, I don't. I don't think so. I mean, there's too many good teams in this league. It's so hard to go back to back in this league. I mean, who's done it since 2000? I think it was just twice, right? The Penguins and the Lightning. So I mean, it's so difficult to do, and selfishly as a Lightning fan, I don't want them to catch us. Like I'm happy for them that they got their first cup last year, but I don't want them to get any more. So I don't want them catching Tampa. I selfishly I want us to be the big bro that we have been in the state of Florida.
Yeah. Is it really the Stanley Cup final though if a Florida team is not in it? Like, I
In
mean,
the decade of 2020s, no, it's not a Stanley Cup final. It's crazy because the last five Eastern Conference champions dating back to 2020 has been either the Lightning or the Florida Panthers. I mean, this has been, as far as the Eastern Conference goes, it has been run by Florida, which is
yeah.
so, for me as like a lifelong Florida resident, it's awesome to see. For any northern hockey fans, it's probably annoying as hell because
Yeah.
you've got these southern markets that aren't traditional hockey markets that are just dominating the league. But um, yeah, no. Let's get into this first series here. We'll start on the west side. We got the President's Cup winning Winnipeg Jets taking on the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues were one of the hottest, if not the hottest team going into the playoffs this year. They I believe since January 1st of the new year, they had the highest winning percentage of any team in the NHL, the St. Louis Blues do. So how do you see this series shaping up? I know we're recording this 2 days into the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Blues are currently down against the Jets 1-0, but the Blues put up a fight in game one, man, at on the road at Winnipeg. How do you see this series shaking out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Blues really fought in that. They had the lead. They looked like they were going to win that game, and then suddenly, I believe Jarrett Anderson, Dolan, and Alex Iafallo score those goals, and just like that, the Jets win. So they're up 1-0 in the series, like you said. I think for the Blues, the only way they win this series is if their defense absolutely steps up. They're like you said, they're one of the best, the hottest teams right now. They're one of the best teams over the past few months. The Jets are just so deep. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Connor Hellebuck is the best goalie in the world. Gabe Velarde has been a really good third piece for him. I think the Jets, there's no way they don't win this series just because that they've proven this year that they could, respond from last year. And look, I mean, last year they were a very good team. They were in a very tough division, just like this year. And it felt like that collapse in the first round was because they unfortunately had to play Colorado. I think if they play Colorado this year, they lose to them. Like, I don't think anyone's stopping Colorado, really, frankly. And we'll get into our picks, but like, Colorado is great. I think against the Blues, though, I think Winnipeg matches up better. I think, like you said, the Blues are hot. Connor Hellebuck, though, he's kind of a wild card in the playoffs, and so is Jordan Binnington. But I just think the depth and the high leverage scoring that the Jets have is great. And not to say that the Blues don't have that. They have Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, guys like that can light things up. But the Jets have the depth. They've still been good without Ehlers, and it's been a little bit of a hit for them. But I think I trust the Jets offense. And I mean, it's Connor Hellebuck. If you can put at least some defense in front of him, he's going to do his work. I think the Jets are going to win in 5 games.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't think the Blues are going to win this series. 5 games is kind of. I mean, after game one, I think St. Louis is going to put up a little bit of a fight this series. I really do. It is kind of discouraging, if you will, to be tied and then have the Jets take the lead with a little less than 2 minutes to go in the game and steal that victory from the Blues, who are putting up a really good fight. I mean, how are they going to take that going into the second game? Is a good question when you look at it. Are they going to respond? Are they going to let it get them down? But I do think the Blues are going to put up a little bit of a fight. I agree with you, though. I think the President's Trophy winners are going to take this series. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say 6 games. I don't see it going the distance, but I think the Jets got this in about 6 games.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I could see it going to 6. I just think like yesterday's game was, it's not like I didn't see a threat from the Blues, but it was the fact that they collapsed that made me they put up a fight. But I also think the Jets are a team that usually has sort of those playoff jitters going into it.
Yeah.
Thought maybe that was some of it. I do think Winnipeg, though, I think they could come out of the West this year. I know you win the President's Trophy, it's you're always the big question mark that everyone has their eyes on. But I think with Winnipeg, for me, it's the depth. I think their defense could be a little deeper. They saw the ebbs and flows of the season. I think later in the year they sort of faded off a little bit. Their offense is really good, though, and I think that's it's gotten a lot better for the previous years. Yeah, I mean, but no disrespect to the Blues at all. I mean, it's going to be a hard fought series. I think it's going to be one of those series that the final score, the box score, isn't telling of what actually happened on the ice. But I think Connor Hellebuck is feeling the pressure, right? I mean, not only has he choked a lot of playoffs, he lost the Four Nations face-off to this very man, Jordan Binnington. So I think that's going to be in the back of his mind, and I don't know if that plays anything a part in it, but we'll see.
Do you believe in the President's Trophy curse? I have to go on a limb and say it.
I don't believe in curses. I think it's all made up. I know that's boring. It's a boring take, but no, I don't. But it is kind of weird that every team that wins it, screws up. But also look, I mean, the Florida Panthers, they had the President's Trophy a few years ago. They choked and then they won the cup a couple years later. I don't know. I think it's maybe that year. Yeah. I mean, how about you?
I was like you until I witnessed the historically good 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning team get swept in the first round at Columbus. And as a fan of the Lightning, who just thought that we were going to steamroll to a chip, and seeing us lose that series in 4, get swept, I mean, historic collapse. But the Panthers won the cup the year after winning the President's Trophy. So did the Lightning. The Lightning won the year after winning the President's Trophy. So maybe that's more of a thing. Maybe it's okay, they win the President's Trophy, they got all the spotlight on them, and then the next year they kind of fly under the radar a little bit. People forget they were President's Trophy winners the year before. So I mean, I'm not really a big believer in sports curses. This is genuinely probably the only one that I do believe in to an extent. Just because I've witnessed it firsthand as a fan, and in a really historically terrible way. So for that reason, like, yeah, I mean, I don't even consider the Jets a cup contender for the sole reason that they won the President's Trophy. I'm not like I think they'll win the series. They have a chance to make it to. I think they can make it to the West Final pretty easily. I think that they can even make the Cup Final. But once they get there, I think it's going to be a lot of pressure. And I'm sorry, man. I can't do it. I can't sit here and say that the President's Trophy winner is going to do it. What was the last team to do it? It was the Blackhawks, I think, 2013 maybe, and that was a shortened season. So there's a lot of like, did it really count as a President's Trophy type of thing?
Yeah.
But before that, it was even longer ago. So it's just it really, I guess, more than anything, it goes to show you just how difficult the Stanley Cup is to win. I mean, it's got to be, at least in my opinion, the hardest trophy to win in sports because you get so many teams in, say, baseball or football, where the best team going into the tournament ends up on top, and nobody's really surprised by it. But not in hockey. Hockey is truly it's anybody's for the taking. It's who wants it the most. It's such a physical wear and tear game. It really comes down to who wants it more.
Yeah. And you brought up the injuries too. Like, I mean, that could play out for Florida. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
talk about Edmonton too. I mean, they've had Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid out for the past few weeks. I mean, maybe they were resting him for the playoffs. We don't know, but I mean, they were on injured reserve. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna. I think this year is a really interesting year for the playoffs too, because you have teams like Montreal and Ottawa who got in, and those are teams that we haven't really seen make it this far in a while. And so I think it kind of speaks to that. And also, I mean, it's hockey. Like you have rivals playing each other in the first round that have seen each other, 4 times, throughout the year, and so I don't think season series really matter that much. I think they're kind of blown out of proportion sometimes, but I think also the fact that the teams are familiar with each other make it a little more personal. So we'll talk about that as well, I'm sure. But I think that also adds to the intensity that we've been talking about. So
Oh, yeah, for sure. Dallas. Well, I guess we can. Well, let's just do the whole West Side first. Dallas, Colorado. What do you think about this one? I know you just talked about Colorado. You see Colorado kind of as a freight train. Nobody's really stopping them. But what do you think about this series in particular?
yeah, I think it's the battle of depth, right? I mean, the Dallas Stars have been the deepest forward group in the league for at least the past couple years. I think ever since they got in Jason Robertson, like they've been so deep. I mean, lines 1 through 4, they have the youth, and I know, like, of course, they had movement this year, bringing in Nico Rantanen after he had a shortstop in Carolina, and then of course they got rid of Logan Stankoven. But I think for Dallas, they have a ton of depth. My question for them is, how does the defense hold up against a team like Colorado that just has so many options? I mean, talk about, the deadline. I mean, Martin Necas going to Colorado, he's been huge for them. Brock Nelson, uh, and those are just the additions at the deadline. They have guys coming back from injury. Of course, they've had guys who have seen the cup before. Haven't even talked about, the fact that Gabriel Landeskog could be coming back. They have Nathan McKinnon, Kale McCarr. I mean, we talk about depth. I mean, Colorado has depth on the back end and in the forward groups. Not to say that Dallas doesn't, but Miro Haskinen's injured. So for Dallas, I mean, he's the anchor of their defense. And I just don't know how that holds up against a team like Colorado with so much depth. I think this game goes to 6. I see Colorado winning it. The pure star power is just so enticing for me. Mackenzie Blackwood, former Shark, been one of the best goalies in the league this year in terms of goals saved above expected. I think Colorado on paper is a lot better of a team. I know on paper doesn't matter; they're division rivals. I think Dallas will put up a good fight, and I think that first game was a lot closer than the scoreboard said. But that being said, I got Colorado in 6. They play such a physical, fast game, and I don't think Dallas can stop them.
I was initially going to pick Dallas to win this series until I found out that they were on a 7-game losing streak going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Lost game 1. Now it's an 8-game losing streak. They kept talking about on the broadcast how Every game one of a playoff series they've played, it's like 6 or 7 straight now. They've lost a game one. It's kind of crazy. Um, so I mean, I was going to pick Dallas until I found out just how cold they were going into the playoffs. But this is one of those truly up in the air series. I know Dallas has some injuries that are not favoring them, and uh, if Dallas were to come out on top in this series, I think they're a serious contender to go all the way. Really, I mean, they were one of the best teams in the West, one of the best, most complete teams in the league, and it's just going to be. It's the thing with how they do the seeding in hockey is you in the first round you get so many matchups that could easily be conference finals. You know, I mean Dallas, Colorado. This is crazy that this is the first round matchup. I mean, this is like Chiefs Bills being a first round almost. You know, it's kind of crazy. But I'm with you. I have Colorado winning this one just because Dallas is so damn cold right now. I don't see them recovering from it. And they really struggled in game one as well. Didn't even get a goal until the third period. They just seemed off. They didn't seem like they had it. And Colorado just seems like they want it more. I've got Colorado with you in 6.
Yeah, and I want to stress too, like respect to Dallas, they have a ton of offensive depth. I mean,
Oh, of course.
Kyle Granlund, why the fact that Wyatt Johnston's on the third line and he was their best goal scorer last year. He's a young force. He just got the extension. The defense is the issue for me. I mean, their top pairing is Lindell and Cece. It's not bad, but without Heiskanen, it's like, like you said, any other matchup, I'd be like gung ho about them, winning. I actually picked Dallas, and I had a near perfect bracket last year. I had Dallas winning the Stanley Cup, but that was one of my problems. I picked them, and so I think Dallas is a great team. They have the pieces, but man, Colorado, like, I should have picked them in my bracket to go, the finals. I didn't, unfortunately. But I think Colorado is just such an indomitable force. Their defense is much better, I think, than Dallas's, and the goaltending. If they don't pick up Blackwood, maybe I have a little bit of a different opinion on it. But I don't know. I mean, Ottinger's great. He's a playoff goalie. I don't know. I just Jason Robertson is day to day. I don't know if he misses the next game. So we'll see what happens for Dallas, but I think it goes to 5 or 6.
Now we move on to the Vegas Golden Knights playing the Minnesota Wild, and I mean, after I don't know if you watched the game tonight, they had their first game tonight. It just seemed like Vegas outplayed in the at least the physicality department. They outplayed Minnesota, and I feel like Minnesota's a wild card team. Good for them, they got here, but Vegas they lost in 7 last year to who was it to? It was either I think it was Colorado, right?
It's either Colorado or Edmonton. I forget.
One of the two. They lost first round in 7 games. I don't see them going out first round again. So I don't really to be quite frank with you, I don't really know too much about Minnesota's team. I really don't. I haven't really followed them this year. Um, but I know that Vegas is very consistently good, especially on the big stages like the playoffs. And I don't really see Minnesota having a chance in this. I think if any of these series were to be a sweep, this is probably, in my opinion, the most likely one. And I say that, of course, after saying that I don't really know too much about Minnesota's team, but I'm going to say like 5 or 6. I got Vegas winning this and moving on.
Yeah, actually, I just checked. Last year, Vegas was a wild card team, and they lost to Dallas in 7.
It was Dallas. Okay.
Yeah. I also have Vegas. I know a bit about the Wild. They've been injured a lot lately. They started very good early on the year, and they were also healthy at that point. I mean, Gustafsson was looking like a Vezina goalie at that point. He's still a good goalie, but I don't know if he's that good anymore. Especially against a Vegas team with they're a physical team, but they're a well disciplined team. Vegas added a lot of depth when they got Tomas Hertl last year, and then it didn't really work out because he was injured, and they couldn't really turn the corner. This year they've turned the corner. Hertl is looking, and it's funny, we're talking about a bunch of former Sharks, Blackwood, Granlund, Cece, now Hertl. Jack Eichel is having an incredible season. He knows what it takes to win a cup. Now the goaltending, I think Minnesota maybe has the edge. I like Aiden Hill, another former Shark. But Vegas is so deep. I mean, Pavel Dorofeyev is incredible. He's underrated as hell too, and I feel like not enough people are talking about him. What I will say with the Wild is they added Zeev Buyum, who was their first round pick this year. He made his debut tonight. I don't know if that's a game changer, but it adds to their defense. Matt Boldy, is very talented as well. I think the problem I have with Minnesota is their offense has been really dry this year. You would think a team with Kirill Kaprizov, who makes the case every year that he's a top, he's a top player in the league. I don't know if I put a number on it. He's one of the best players in the league, though, talent wise. But Vegas is just skilled. They're deep. They have the experience. Jack Eichel, I think, alone can carry them. But to see a guy like Pavel Dorofeyev tonight step up is huge. I think even losing Jonathan Marchessault kind of maybe allowed some of the wingers to step up. I like the Wild. I have it ending in a sweep. Honestly, I think I don't think Vegas loses a game here.
I could see it. Just one little thing. Vegas had a power play goal in the second period today. Forget who scored it, but it was literally 5 seconds of the power play. And the one thing I noticed is how Minnesota did not apply any pressure at all. That's not how you win playoff games. You've got to put pressure on guys. When you're on the power play, some teams, man, they're so physical and quick that even if you got a man advantage on the power play, dude, you get swarmed. And you've got to make quick passes, and you end up making a lot of mistakes because of it. You rush shots, you make bad shots, you generate turnovers on man rushes. Minnesota, you cannot be sitting back and letting Vegas toy around with you like they did on this power play. I don't know if they'll tighten that up, but that's got to be a coaching thing. It was just a general observation, but I mean, you just can't sit back and let them pass all around you. I mean, they scored it so quick, and Minnesota didn't really do anything about it. They had a wide open net for the one-time shot, but yeah, I mean, I've got Vegas 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, I mean, Vegas's power play. I have their power play unit up. Their first power play unit: Mark Stone, Tomas Hertl, Pavel Dorofeyev, Jack Eichel, Shea Theodore. I mean, that's a formidable group of guys. Physical, craft. It's a mix of physical and crafty. You have a Shea Theodore with a Jack Eichel. I mean, that's pretty hard to beat. And Minnesota, they're a good defensive team. Matt Boldy had 2 goals tonight. They have scoring options on the back end. Again, I just don't think. I think their edge is goaltending. I think a team like Vegas can really exploit that. I have Vegas in 4.
Yeah, I can see it. So let's move on to the last side of the West bracket. This is Oilers versus a team that you have watched very closely this year, and that you've become very familiar with. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Kings. I know you pretty much watch most, if not all, their home games, at least in person through college and stuff, which is super dope. Really happy for you that you're progressing your career and all this stuff. It's really cool to see develop. But I mean, how do you feel about the Kings? Do you think they have a chance against Edmonton?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this is the 4th year in a row these two teams are playing in the playoffs. The first year went to 7, second year went to 6, third year went to 5, I believe. And the difference this year is LA has home ice for the first time. They finally got second in the Pacific. Not to mention they're also the best home team or best performing team on home ice in the NHL this year. They only lost a few games in regulation. They won 30 home games. I mean, it's incredible out of 41. And so I think absolutely the Kings have a chance. But it's not going to be easy. Guys like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl have had a lot of rest lately. They've been out for a while. And so that kind of brings up the question of, is it rust? Is it rejuvenation? We don't know. I think that's going to be the question for Edmonton. I'll tell you this much. Edmonton doesn't have much depth. This is probably the worst Oilers team I've seen out of the 4 years that they played the Kings. The best probably last year, went to the Cup, was 1 period away from winning the Cup. The issue with Edmonton is the depth and the goaltending. Stuart Skinner has not been very good this year. Calvin Pickard has not been very good this year. We don't know who's starting tomorrow. Now over to the Kings. They are a pretty decent penalty killing team, and they're going to have to kill penalties against a guy like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Both those guys on the same line could happen. That's something that could be adjusted in game. If the Kings can kill off penalties and score a few on the power play, the Kings are one of the worst power play teams in the league, but it doesn't seem to matter sometimes because they get that scoring from somewhere else. The power play has also gotten better with Andrei Kuzmenko getting acquired at the trade deadline. I was on a Kings podcast earlier today. I picked the Kings in 6. I think it could go to 7. I think the media and everyone is leaning in favor of Edmonton because they've won the past 3 years, and that's completely fair. The reality is, though, these two teams have changed. Quentin Byfield for the Kings has gotten a lot better. He's the X factor for me. If he falls off like he did last year and doesn't perform, I don't think the Kings can win. If he can score, if he can go at a point per game pace, or at least close to it in this series, I think the Kings win. Not to mention Darcy Kemper, one of the best goalies in the league this year. The Kings have the goaltending edge. They have the defensive edge. The one edge they don't have is they don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. They absolutely have the winger depth, I think, now with adding Kuzmenko. I want to see how they perform against those two stars. I think the Kings are winning in 6.
Yeah, it's easy to forget for the Oilers because they made such a deep run last year, pushed the Panthers to the brink in Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final. It's easy to forget that the last few years before that, I mean, they were out before the conference final. They historically haven't really progressed past the second round, to my knowledge, and so when you're playing the same team over and over and over and over again, it feels like it's only a matter of time until you get bested. And for the Kings, they're probably tired of losing to the Edmonton Oilers in the first round because it's what, 4 straight years now. It's like the three things that are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Oilers Kings first round matchup. It's every single year. I'm sure, and we go back to the way that the NHL does their playoff formatting. I'm sure there's a lot of fans that are kind of getting a little tired of seeing these two play each other in the first round, but I think it'll be a lot more competitive this year. And I think this will go 7. I really do. These are two really well put together teams, but I think Edmonton's just got that chip on their shoulder, getting all the way to Game 7 of a final last year. I don't see them going out in the first round. I think Edmonton wins this in 7. And I know you probably know these two teams better than I do because you've observed them a lot closer than I have, but I can't see a team like Edmonton going out so early after making the cup run last year.
Yeah, that's fair. I think too, like Matthias Ekholm is injured right now for Edmonton on the back end, so I wonder how their defense shapes out against a Kings team that just doesn't score at a high clip, especially on the power play. So I like, again, I think I certainly would not be surprised if it went either way. I think I picked the Kings just because if they can at least split in LA, the first two, I think they're setting themselves up well. I think it's really hard to win in Edmonton. And also, I know I to contradict myself from earlier, I said, season series don't really matter. This one completely doesn't matter because 2 of the games, Draisaitl and McDavid didn't play, and they were like last week or so. And so, we don't have an accurate representation. One of the games, Edmonton won 1-0, and one of the games, LA won 4-3 in overtime. This is all pre-Kuzmenko, and I mean, Kuzmenko trade, just watching this team every game, it's completely changed the team.
Yeah.
They put him on the first line, and with a guy like Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, he's been able to light things up, especially on the power play. He's a 200-foot player. I wonder how the Kings play a 200-foot game, especially with guys like Byfield and Kempe. They're going to have to forecheck a lot against a team like Edmonton. I agree. It's gonna be a crazy series. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the better series I think in the first round. But let's go ahead and move on to the East side. It's gonna be a lot of fun, I think, on the East side as well. We're gonna start off with Toronto and Ottawa. How do you see this one shaping out?
Yeah, Battle of Ontario. Honestly, one of the series I'm most excited for. I love a regional rivalry. I don't remember the last time these two teams played in the playoffs. It's probably been a while, but
like 15 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Leafs dominated today. Ullmark, did not look good in net. And I really do like the forward core that the Senators have. I know this is your division, so I'm sure you can speak on it well. Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson, they're great players, some youth in there as well. But let's be honest, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Nylander, John Tavares, that's a group that's just it's just better than that other group. So also, I mean, talk about Matthew Knies. He's a young guy, 29 goals this year as a youngster. Not too bad. Toronto's a top-heavy team, but I think their top heaviness is somewhat deep at that point. I think the problem with Toronto is just they've struggled to get out of the first round. They barely did it last year. They're also not a very good 5-on-5 from my research. Their expected goal numbers are down this year. The Senators have been a very good team this year. They've surprised people. I think the Olmark trade helped them, even though it was sort of a risky trade at the time. I think it's really going to come down to who can make the play, who can make that right goal. It's going to come down to expected goal type of situations, guys scoring on low XG chances. I don't know. I think the Leafs have been a team that falls apart, and we know that Austin Matthews is not a guy that plays deep into the month of May typically. And he doesn't have that experience per se, but he knows what it takes to make the playoffs. The Senators don't. I don't know. I don't love the goaltender tandem that Toronto has, but I think it's been solid this year. Just Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. I think the Senators just don't have the experience, and I don't think any of these guys except for Olmark have really had that experience in the playoffs. I have Leafs in 5.
I can respect that. I just looked it up. Aside from the 2021 shortened season with the division realignments, this is the first time the Leafs have won the division they're in since 1999.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that. I just kind of assumed they've won it a few times over this past 10 years because they've been consistently good, consistently in the playoffs. But it's probably the best Leafs team they've had with this current core, and so they're going to be a tough team to take down. And on paper, absolutely, the Maple Leafs should win this in, like you said, 5 or maybe even 6. I just don't trust them. I mean, to be honest with you, how could anybody trust them? They are always getting upset in the first round. They have won one first round series in the last 15, 20 years, and they came against the Lightning 2 years ago that included, I believe, 3 overtime wins in that series. A lot of luck had to go their way for that series, and it's just until they can prove to me that they can get out of the first round and they can solidify themselves as a dangerous team who's actually contending for the Stanley Cup. I'll believe when I see it. I've got Ottawa winning this one in 7. I think the
Really?
Leafs choke again. There's a lot at stake here. It's the Battle of Ontario. There's going to be a lot of Canadian pride in this series, man. And I think Ottawa's been hot recently. You've got guys like Brady Tkachuk who are motivated. I think Ottawa's winning it in 7.
Well, to your advantage here, the Senators actually did sweep the season series. That's why I don't think it matters, because I think,
Yeah.
those games were close too. Those games were close. The thing with Toronto that entices me this year as opposed to other years is consistency.
Yeah.
They have the 7th best offense in the league. They have the 8th best defense in the league. I would take that. I usually you see one team on, a team on one end of the spectrum, and then on defense on the other end, it's just flipped. They're right up in the upper echelon for both. They've dealt with injuries. Austin Matthews hasn't had, the clean season that we saw him have like last year. What was it, 59 goals last year or 69 goals, whatever. He had a lot of goals last year. A guy like Nylander is really taking the leap this year. He was great before. He's gotten better. I don't know. I see your point. I think history is not on the side of Toronto.
No.
But I also would argue it's not on the side of Ottawa too much either. So I think it's like it comes down to which goalie's going to make a mistake, which defense is going to, leave for a gaping hole. I don't know. I think it's going to be a good series, though, for sure.
Moving on to one that's highly anticipated. It's the Battle of Florida. Lightning and Panthers again in the first round, and I believe the 3rd time this decade. 4th time, actually. Yeah, this is the 4th time that they face each other in the playoffs this decade. It seems like, based on trends, whoever wins this series will represent the East in the Stanley Cup. So you have the last 5 seasons have been represented in the East by either Tampa or Florida. That just sounds so stupid to say Florida or Tampa, as if Tampa's not in Florida. But this is going to be a great series. Last season, the Lightning, they were an above average team, but I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be easy for the Lightning to win that series. Let's just say that. I mean, I kind of expected the Panthers to win. They beat us in 5, and I wasn't really shocked at the result. The Lightning had just kind of been they had just been kind of weak throughout the season. They had a lot of weak spots and not a whole lot of depth. But I think this time around they're going to be far more competitive, bringing guys back like Ryan McDonough, Yanni Gord. Bjorkstrand's going to be out for at least the first round, which sucks because he was putting up numbers with the Lightning ever since they acquired him from Seattle. You bring guys back. I don't know if did I say Ryan McDonough already. Get rid of Stamkos and bring in Jake Gensel, who's been nothing but fire this season for the Lightning. This is an upgraded Lightning team from last year, and it's not even really close. I mean, this team was pretty much on the brink of winning the division up until they played Toronto in one of the last regular season games and lost in overtime to Toronto, giving them two points. If that didn't happen, then it could have the division could have been Tampa's. But the Florida Panthers, they're getting guys back like Kachuk and a couple other guys. It's going to be a tough series. It's going to be a hard fought series. And just like the Battle of Ontario, I think there's going to be a lot of pride in showing each other here who's the big bro of the state. And I think Tampa is kind of like, all right, Florida, you had your time last year, but we're back. We're not going to let you get away with it easy this year. I think Tampa's going to win this, and I don't think it's going to be an easy series at all. I think this is going 7. I really do. This is going to go to the brink, but I think Tampa's got it, especially with the home ice advantage. It's pivotal because if it does go to 7, then they get to play at Amalie Arena. I think Tampa's got an advantage, and I think they've been kind of flying under the radar this year. I don't know how it's been for you as a guy who follows the Western Conference more. But I feel like Tampa's just kind of floated under the radar. Nobody's really talking about them a whole lot. Kucherov quietly led the league in points, and it's I just feel like it's a team that's flying under the radar. But I do think Tampa's winning in 7. I'm curious to see what you had to say about the series.
Yeah, I mean, you know it better than me, man. I really like what the front office has done with for Tampa. The Yanni Gord trade, I thought when that went down, I was like, wow, okay, they're actually making a push. Because I felt like, I mean, you've talked with me about it before. I felt like Tampa post 22 Cup was, the loss was sort of trending in the wrong direction. I mean, Sergachev gone, now Stamkos gone. It felt like the identity of the team was changing. People questioning, is Vasilevsky still that guy? Look, the point is, I mean, a guy like Braden Point is a game changer. He's quiet, and it has been quiet, right? Like he's quietly having back-to-back near 50-goal seasons. He's been incredible. I love the depth this team has. I think the first line's incredible. Yanni Gord on the wing adds just a lot of extra speed and ability that we just didn't necessarily see with them. I will say, like you mentioned, you alluded to it, Kachuk's coming back. Ekblad's coming back by game 3. He's expected. You also have Brad Marchand as a depth piece that didn't have all of the season for Florida. I also think that the defense for the Panthers is a lot deeper than Tampa, just from my view. I think this could very well be the best series out of every single one. I think it's definitely the best series in the East. By a significant margin.
I agree with that.
I don't think anyone really comes too close. However, I think home ice is huge. That being said, I got to pick the Panthers here just because of what I talked about. Those guys coming back is going to be big for me. They're going to have some rest. I also think the defense for Florida is just a little bit deeper. That being said, though, if Vasilevsky goes out and plays vintage, Tampa will win. I think that's sort of the X factor. He's a great goalie, of course. He's a future Hall of Famer. But the defense in front of him just hasn't been as good as Tampa or as Florida, in my view. Hedman's still that guy. Like you said, you want to bring back a guy like Ryan McDonough. I wonder on the back end how that translates. But I got Florida in 7. That's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of us agree that it's going to 7. I mean, it feels that way. I don't think it's not gonna be. It's gonna be a really physical series. Not gonna be easy for either team. Vasilevsky has to this point been pretty much vintage Vasilevsky. He had two back-to-back years these past 2 seasons where he wasn't quite himself. I know he publicly had said that um, this season after making the third cup, he kind of stopped his, I guess, routines, didn't really take as much care of his body, and it showed. He wasn't playing as good. He wasn't the goaltender he was, but this season he has been brought back to that form of Vazzy that everybody knows is dominant and pretty much a brick wall. If he plays how he's been playing down the stretch of the season in the playoffs, it's going to be really tough for Florida to score on him. I love this current Tampa team a lot more than I've loved the last 2 years of Tampa teams. The last 2 years of Tampa, I think, has been real similar to what happened with the Penguins after they won back to back. They kind of just tried to keep their core intact and had a steady decline over the years. But Tampa did something different for the Penguins. And the general manager, Julien Brisebois, he got rid of the franchise guy, let Stamkos walk, which is something that you couldn't fathom the Penguins ever letting a guy like Crosby or Malkin walk in free agency. But Tampa took that risk, and the results have shown. I mean, it's paid off big for Tampa, at least in this regular season. And it really just shows you got to rip the Band-Aid off sometimes if you want to stay relevant. And I think this Tampa team is going to be a lot more competitive and a lot more fun to watch in this series than they have in the last 2 seasons. Moving on to the East, the best team in the East, the Capitals, taking on the last wild card team. They snuck in the last regular season game. I'm talking about the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens. And I'm going to keep this one pretty short because I don't think anybody's going to predict Montreal topping the Capitals in this series. I don't think the Capitals have been too hot down the later stretch of the season, but they're the Capitals, and they've got Ovechkin, who's been on just a fairy tale run this year with his breaking Gretzky's record. I mean, there's so many storylines revolving the Capitals this year and Ovechkin. I just think that it wouldn't be right for them to go out this early to the last wild card team. I think this is going to be a Capitals in 5 type of series. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, the Capitals are one of the the second best scoring team in the NHL. That comes with Ovi having, an incredible, you said it well, fairy tale, but also just like he breaks his leg and he comes back and breaks the record. Like, who's doing that? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, the Canadiens, no one thought they were going to get in. Credit to Lane Hudson. I'm a big Macklin Celebrini fan, and unfortunately, it's looking like Lane Hudson is going to win the Calder Cup, the Calder Trophy. And it looked like Celebrini earlier on was going to win it, and unfortunately, I don't think that will be the case. But Lane Hudson, the young defenseman, has been absolutely incredible for Montreal. That goes with their young, solid core, guys like Gallagher, guys like Suzuki. That Montreal in a few years is going to be maybe a cup contender again, like they were in 2021. Maybe it'll take longer than that, but it looks like they're setting themselves up well. But that being said, you're completely right. Washington is a completely changed team from last year. They didn't have much expectations going into this year, other than like it'd be cool if Ovechkin, broke the record. He did that and more. 51 wins for Washington. The Capitals, I think, will win in 4. Like you said, can keep this one short, and the Capitals have a lot of depth. We'll see if they can win, a title, but their goaltending as well. I mean, guy like Logan Thompson, what an acquisition and Charlie Lindgren. That's probably one of the best tandems in the league, if not the best. And so, yeah, I think Thompson's healthy. I wasn't sure if he was injured or not. So we'll see, but I have them in 4.
It's crazy looking at the revamp of the Capitals here. I guess less of a revamp, but more of a turnaround because they were the last team in the playoffs last year. The only team to get swept in the first round. I mean, this was a team that was really weak last year, and they've really just turned it around. And I certainly didn't expect them to have the best record in the East at the end of the season. And they're here, though. And I don't see the Canadians really even having a chance.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a guy I watched in LA last year. It was my first year covering the Kings in person. Pierre-Luc Dubois. He looked terrible in LA last year. He was mostly on the third and fourth line. He gets traded for Darcy Kemper. goes over, he's having one of his best seasons, and he's on the second line, thriving with Tom Wilson and being kind of that shutdown guy. I mean, Anthony Beauvillier, Dylan Strome. I mean, they just have a lot of depth. Maybe a sort of a different type of depth than other teams, but also the back end for Washington. Jacob Chikrin got a nice contract out of his play. Matt Roy, also a former King that I watched last year. He's I think an incredible defenseman and very underrated. So we'll see what happens. I think like the one concern I have, not for this series, but maybe down the line, is like if Logan Thompson's hurt, also the fact that the Capitals are a little beat up. They don't have, obviously, TJ Oshie has been out for a long time. They have 6 guys on IR right now, or at least day to day, but they have some injuries, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, the Canadiens, props to them for even making the playoffs. They were a tanking team last year. I believe they were, they had an early pick a couple of years ago. I forget who they picked last year, but I know they got Reinbacker 2 years ago. The point is, they've been picking early a lot. And so, props to them for making it. It's Caps in 4, though, for me.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I got Caps in, I'd say 5. I think Montreal steals the game in overtime, but yeah, Caps in 5. Moving on to the last series here. It's one that should be, in my opinion, a little similar to Caps and Habs. It's the Hurricanes and the Devils. Uh, Devils, good for them, made the playoffs first time in a minute. But Carolina's just too good, man. I don't see Carolina losing this one, and they won pretty easily today against the Devils in Game 1, and I just think they're going to carry that momentum into the later games.
Yeah, I mean, my concern for the Devils is the fact that Jack Hughes is out, right? So it's
Yeah,
like you don't
it's big.
have your franchise guy, your number one pick, 6 years ago or whatever. Like, it's hard to pick you. It's hard for them to make a case to me. The one thing they have going for them is the fact that Carolina's goaltending has not been great. Freddie Anderson has dealt with injuries. Gotta feel bad for the guy. He's had some weird injuries too. I believe he had a blood clot that made him miss all of last year, most of
That's
last.
crazy.
And then Kochetkov, inconsistent at best. So I think it's certainly not a sweep. Is my point. I think Markstrom could help New Jersey steal at most 2. Does it go to 7? Probably not. That being said, it's a weird kind of moment to be a Hurricanes fan without. You make that big trade for Rantanen. Now he's not on the team, so you lose Natchez and Rantanen. You bring in Stan Coben, which is big. They're top heavy as well. Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis have been consistently good in the playoffs. Of course, they haven't really made that run yet. They've been stopped by teams like Tampa, and I'm sure I remember you telling me you've been up to some games at Carolina. The Hurricanes have been a playoff team consistently. They know what it takes. However, that goaltending inconsistency is a little concerning for me. Maybe something down the line, but I think overall, I think Carolina takes this one somewhat easily. Again, without Hughes, it's just going to be a tough ride. Not to mention that the Hurricanes are coached well. They're well built. They're a strong team down the stretch in a lot of games. I don't see the Hurricanes going far, but I don't know. I think they're winning this series probably pretty easily. Maybe a game or 2 gets stolen from them.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think other than Toronto and Tampa, maybe in LA, so yeah, close to half. I think we agree on a lot of stuff, and in the stuff that we didn't agree on, we agreed that it was going to go the distance, 7 games. So it'll be really interesting to see how this shapes up. I don't know about you, man, but I love my Chiefs. I really do. But I don't think there's anything like playoff hockey. I think this is the best playoff of any of the 4 major sports. It's just so physical and just wears you down from the beginning. It's such a long campaign too. This is like almost a 2-month thing that goes on. It's not like NFL where it's done in 3 weeks and you know who's in the Super Bowl. This is like this is a marathon for every team, and so it's going to be just who wants it the most every year. It's so fun to watch this. I'm so glad we're back in playoff hockey. It truly is, I think, the best playoff in sports. And I'm just super stoked to be able to sit down every day and be able to turn a game on for the next 2 months.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think it's cool seeing too, like, going from year to year, like the NHL, I feel like it's not that like the league is designed this way per se, but I feel like, like we talked about the Canadians, we talked about the Capitals, like in the Senators too. Like there's teams that like could suck the year before and make a run and turn it around.
Yeah.
And then you have just so much fun in the playoffs. Like, wow, how's this team going to do? So yeah, I completely agree. I think it's going to be a fun playoffs, and I wish the Sharks would make it more. I'm happy I can attend games. Sharks have not made the playoffs since I was in 8th grade. So, and I'm in college.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey.
No, I feel bad for you, man, because every year I'm like, well, the Sharks, they've got a lot of youth and talent, but they just can never seem to put it together. I feel like they're pretty much dead last, if not very close to it, every single year. And I'm like, dude, they're racking up these top 3 picks every single draft. How are they not getting better by now? So like, I feel bad for you, because it's like you would hope by now they would start to progress and actually fight towards the playoffs, but it's been more of the same every year. But hopefully they can turn that around soon. We see the Senators were able to turn around. This is the first time they've made the playoffs in 7, 8 years. The Canadians, dude, they lost the cup in 21 to Tampa, tore everything down, rebuilt, and they're already back as a wild card team. All before teams like the Sharks could do anything, and they're still kind of bottom feeders. And you just hope that they can turn it around soon and develop some players and get good. I mean, it can't last forever, man. It can't. You're probably a few years away from being back in this position, but
yeah, probably likely we'll get the number 1 pick again this year. And like, I mean, when you have a guy like Macklin Celebrini, who's not only 18 years old, but pretty damn good at hockey, it's easy to build around a guy like that. Not to mention,
yeah,
like, Will Smith, you traded for the goalie of the future and Askarov. Like, it's looking good. But I'm happy to say that for, I think, the first time in the history of us doing this, we're both going to be attending playoff games in some way or another.
Yeah.
So you'll be in Florida. I'll be in Southern California. Hopefully at every Kings playoff game. I'm sure should be available for it. So
Opposite sides of the bracket, but yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, opposite sides of the country, the bracket, whatever it will be. And who knows, maybe the Lightning play the Kings in the playoffs and we would like do another meetup or something. I don't know. Maybe
That'd be kind of sick. It'd be a Stanley Cup final right there.
Yeah.
It'd be an unlikely one, but I'd like it. I'd like to see that happen. That'd be fun.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. So, yeah.
Casey, thanks for doing this again, man. It's always a pleasure. We're like 5 years strong now, I think. It's been a very long time, but it doesn't get old. Love talking hockey, love talking sports. We do this every time that major sport, I guess, aside from NBA, because I don't know anything about really basketball, but we do this for everything every year, and it's a lot of fun to do. So thanks for being on once again, man. It's always a blast.
Likewise, man. Glad we could do it, man.
Yes, sir. That'll do it for this one. We'll see you around 2. I'll be cheering on the Bolts on this channel. You catch my recaps here. And as for Casey, you can listen to his Kings podcast. Even though he's not quite a Kings fan, but he will be covering the Kings a bunch. So if you are a Kings fan, I recommend giving him a look at the channel and all that stuff. So see ya for round 2.